Every word from Michael Carrick's press conference as Man United interim responds to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Manchester United interim head coach Michael Carrick has spoken to the media ahead of the clash with Everton. Manchester United's interim head coach Michael Carrick has spoken to the media ahead of the trip to Everton on Monday night. The opening half of the press conference was dominated with questions about Sir Jim Ratcliffe's controversial comments last week about immigration in the United Kingdom. Carrick reiterated he was proud of the global reach of the club. Away from Ratcliffe, Carrick suggested both Mason Mount and Matthijs de Ligt are progressing well from their injuries. However, it appears neither player will be rushed back, leaving them as doubts for Everton. Carrick also remained open to the idea of playing mid-season friendlies to keep the squad fresh. But, he stressed it was not straightforward organising such fixtures for his players. Manchester United's interim head coach Michael Carrick has spoken to the media ahead of the trip to Everton on Monday night. The opening half of the press conference was dominated with questions about Sir Jim Ratcliffe's controversial comments last week about immigration in the United Kingdom. Carrick reiterated he was proud of the global reach of the club. Away from Ratcliffe, Carrick suggested both Mason Mount and Matthijs de Ligt are progressing well from their injuries. However, it appears neither player will be rushed back, leaving them as doubts for Everton. Carrick also remained open to the idea of playing mid-season friendlies to keep the squad fresh. But, he stressed it was not straightforward organising such fixtures for his players. Carrick breaks silence on Ratcliffe comments. Carrick said he is proud of what Manchester United stands for in response to a question about Sir Jim Ratcliffe claiming the United Kingdom had been colonised by immigrants. In an interview with Sky News, Ratcliffe said the government needed to make difficult decisions. Discussing immigration, Ratcliffe said, "You can't have an economy with 9 million people on benefits and huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK has been colonised. It's costing too much money. The UK has been colonised by immigrants, really, hasn't it? I mean, the population of the UK was 58 million in 2020, now it's 70 million. That's 12 million people." That is all from the opening section of the press conference. The embargoed section will be out later. What next for Sancho? It's easy to forget that Jadon Sancho is still a Manchester United player. That will no longer be the case in a few months' time when the two parties go their separate ways in what has been a turbulent 5 years since his move from Borussia Dortmund. If Sancho has filled Common inches since his 2021 Old Trafford arrival, it has more often than not been for his off-field behaviour. From accusing Erik ten Hag of lying to Diggs at the club on social media, Sancho's £73 million move to United will go down as one of the worst pieces of business in the club's history. Sancho will finally cut ties with United for good this summer as his 5-year contract comes to an end, but what next for a player who was once seen as one of the best wingers in Europe? 2 years of Ratcliffe at United. When Ratcliffe sat down with Sky News in Antwerp last week, there was one particular comment that dominated headlines and would set the agenda for days, if not weeks, to come. Not just around Manchester United, but also politically. It's not every day the co-owner of one of the world's biggest football clubs is told to apologise by the Prime Minister, but Ratcliffe's comments on immigration drew condemnation and even prompted a public response from the club he owns. But as we reflect on the second anniversary of Ineos' investment into United being confirmed in February 2024, there was another line in that interview that caught the attention, albeit one that was never going to get the same scrutiny or coverage. United's interim is set to speak to the media at 1:15 p.m. this afternoon. The quotes will be available at 1:30 p.m. so we will bring you have everything he has had to say. Fletcher makes Carrick admission. United under-18 boss Fletcher admitted he didn't tell his team that Carrick was in attendance to watch them book their spot in the quarter-finals of the FA Youth Cup at Oxford on Wednesday night. United were looking to progress in the competition they last won in 2022 at a rain-soaked Kassam Stadium. The youngsters did so with minimal fuss, with Albert Mills opening the scoring after he headed home a Jim Thwaites corner. JJ Gabriel made it 2 on the stroke of half-time before Chido Obi ended the game as a contest with a third in the second half. Oxford tried to fight their way back into the contest and made it 3-1 with half an hour to play, but Noah Ajayi scored late on to seal an emphatic win. Good morning and welcome along to the Carrick press conference blog ahead of United's clash with Everton. Carrick will provide injury updates today and Mount is expected to return to the side. De Ligt is a doubt given he has been missing since the win at Crystal Palace and Dorgu is expected to miss out. Carrick may also address his future this afternoon as we edge closer towards the end of the season. Tuchel looks to have ruled himself out of the job since the West Ham game, which only strengthens Carrick's position. Today marks 2 years since Ineos officially took charge of football operations at United, so questions on Ratcliffe will be expected. Ultimate role, menu and the hairdryer, Carrick's football interview. Michael Carrick says leading Manchester United is his ultimate role and has vowed to look after the long-term future of the club despite his interim status. Carrick has had a stellar start since taking over from the sacked Ruben Amorim, prompting inevitable questions about him becoming the club's permanent boss in the future. In a special episode of the football interview for BBC Sounds, Carrick sat down with BBC Sport presenter Mark Chapman and said, "I love what I am doing. I feel privileged to be in the position I am. I said when I came in, there's the sentimental side of understanding the club, but I am here to do a job and to make a good team and be successful. I don't decide how long that is going to be, but I love being here, and while I am, I'll give everything I can and plan for the long-term future and benefit of the club. That's how I believe it should be. I know what really matters to the football club and the people around it. I just think it is what should be done in my position." In an interview which discussed punditry, managing Middlesbrough, and his approach to young players, Carrick discussed the reintroduction of midfielder Kobbie Mainoo, who had been largely frozen out by Amorim. He added, "I have known Kobbie a long time. I think I started working with him when he was 13 or 14, when I started my coaching badges. Knowing him and having experience with him, and seeing him perform at such a level on such big occasions, to be able to cope, what he's done at such a young age is quite incredible. We forget how young he still is. I was a big fan of watching him play and what he was capable of. So it wasn't really a big decision to play him. It's not easy when you've not played to find your rhythm and form. He's come in and done fantastic. I have not had to help him an awful lot. I think he has shown he can do a bit of everything. He has been weak as a mirror a lot. He takes the ball everywhere, Kobbie. There are things he can improve on. But we haven't really got started on any of that as we have let him find his flow of playing again. I have been really conscious of not giving him a lot. A few pointers, positional things, but trust in what he is, a fantastic footballer with huge talent. While shaping the club's future and giving youth a chance." Point back to the Sir Alex Ferguson era, Carrick also spoke about not being able to live up to the famous Scott's hairdryer treatment when anger takes hold. "I'm not sure I could replicate that, and I wouldn't try to," he joked. "A couple of times I've seen it and it puts you on the back of your seat." Wasn't screaming on the motorway. Michael Carrick reveals how he found out that Man United job was his. Michael Carrick has revealed how he found out that Manchester United's managerial post was his to fill, on an initial interim basis, with the ex-Red Devils midfielder returning to familiar surroundings. A positive start to his reign at Old Trafford has been enjoyed, with the 44-year-old also discussing whether he would like to stay on beyond the end of the 2025-26 campaign. Former England international Carrick, who spent time in the respective coaching teams of Jose Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, was appointed as United's stopgap boss on January 13. Darren Fletcher had taken in 2 games as caretaker manager on the back of Ruben Amorim's sacking. Solskjaer was a contender to take over again, having previously spent 3 years at the helm, but the Norwegian was ultimately overlooked following a quick round of interviews. Carrick stepped back into the dugout 7 months on from severing ties with Championship side Middlesbrough. Quizzed by BBC Sport on when he got the call from Old Trafford, Carrick said, "I was actually in the car. I was driving on the way up to Newcastle at the time when the message came through. It was a nice thing to hear, of course it was, but I was quite calm about it actually. I don't know why, but it just felt right. And that's not me being arrogant or blasé in any way, it just felt quite normal. You get a good feeling from it, but I've been here for so long and experienced so much that probably, at some point, I was always hoping in the back of my mind that the opportunity would come along, and thankfully it has." He added on his reaction to receiving that news, "Listen, I was delighted obviously. To be at this club is special, so I'm not playing it down, But it wasn't the case that I came off the phone shouting and screaming and celebrating on the motorway or anything. I just called my wife and said, this is what's happened, this is where we're at. Carrick opened his tenure with a run of 4 successive victories over Manchester City, Arsenal, Fulham and Tottenham. A dramatic point was then taken from a 1-1 draw at his former club, West Ham. The former midfielder is not the kind of character to rant and rave, telling the BBC when asked if he will be delivering Sir Alex Ferguson-esque hairdryer treatment in the dressing room, "Yeah, I'm not sure I could replicate that. I wouldn't try to. A couple of times I've seen it and it puts you at the back of your seat, trying to get further away from it. But, again, you're talking about Sir Alex and he was the genius at using people and getting the best out of people in so many different ways, support, pushing, a bit stronger than pushing at times, but it worked. It was all about getting the best out of his players." Carrick is fully aware that he has only been appointed on a short-term basis and needs to take things one game at a time, but will not shy away from the fact that he would like to earn a permanent contract. He said when asked about future plans, "It's not a stock answer, for me, it's the ultimate role. I'm really enjoying it, I love what I'm doing. I'm fortunate. I feel privileged to be in the position I am, but it's not the fact that I believe I can do it and I'm here to do it. I said it when I came in, there's the sentimental side of that, of understanding the role and coming through the club and being here and loving the club and being a supporter, and all that side of it is one thing. But, actually, I'm here to do a job now and to make a good team and be successful. I don't decide how long that's going to be, but I love being here, and while I'm here, I'll give everything I can. And I always plan for the long-term future for the benefit of the football club. That's how I believe it should be." Carrick has guided United into the Premier League's top 4, as they seek to secure return tickets to the Champions League party, and will take in a 6th game as Red Devils boss when heading to the Hill Dickinson Stadium for a meeting with David Moyes and Everton on Monday.